It is indeed my pleasure to welcome you here today. It is always a treat when we have Dr. Mordechai Kedar to address us. Dr. Mordechai Kedar got his PhD from Bar-Ilan University, and he's written and authored more books and pamphlets and more articles than most of us have even read in our entire life. He is one of the world's preeminent experts on Islam in the Muslim and Arab world, and understands the societies and the culture, which is extremely important right now, especially today when the Senate is still debating the authorization for the use of force against the Islamic State. So this time could this not be more germane, more relevant, and I'm delighted to have Dr. Kedar, who has actually consulted for years and years with the Israeli Defense Forces and with the American military in terms of understanding the nature of the Muslim and Arab world. So without further ado, Dr. Mordechai Kedar. Thank you.
14 years ago, right after September 11, the head of the Mossad those days, a guy named Ephraim Halevi, declared that the world is at the Third World War. Because of what happened in September 11. He was attacked from left and right, from above and below, because of this declaration. What do you mean, World War? We have a problem with al-Qaeda, and that's it. We can crush them and get rid of the problem. What do you mean, World War? Okay? I think that if we look backwards from 2015 to the last 20 years, maybe, a bit more, less, and we connect the dots, I think that he was a prophet, that people didn't want to listen to what he has to say. Because if we take together already starting in even 1983, the attacks of Hezbollah on the American embassy and the American Marines headquarters in Beirut, causing hundreds of casualties. Go through 1998, the American embassies in Dar es Salaam and Nairobi, Tanzania and Kenya. In one day, some 300 casualties, killed people. Go through the coal ship in 1999, September 11, and then, if you want, the Bali attack on the nightclub of the Australians, take the trains in Madrid, the tube in London, and I'm talking about the first decade of the 2000s, and Times Square here, and Fort Hood, which was, as you know, only workplace violence. And here we are. And since we're here to listen to this, I have no other choice but to thank Sarah Stern for arranging it, and dear friends like Cliff Snapper and Warren Manison, who comes always to hear me, and this is very flattering. And I thank whoever took part in arranging this day. And if we continue into this continent, the Boston Marathon and the Fort Hood, you know what, so I stay.
That's okay. You can stay over there.
It's okay. The Fort Hood attack, which was, as you know, only workplace violence, and occasional things or random attacks like in the Jewish market in Paris and the Charlie Hebdo. Okay, these are all scattered points or dots if you don't want to connect them. However, I think we are 15 years later since this announcement of Ephraim Halevi, and here we are already with a pencil, which definitely can connect the dots. Okay, we can continue sticking our heads into the sand in order not to see the problem. But I think that it's time that somebody wakes up to see where we are. So where are we? If we try to analyze this, already then Ephraim Halevi said that this Third World War is different from the previous wars in its geographic size, in its time, and pace of events, and the casualties. Then it was usually soldiers, or the soldiers were people with uniform. Today we are dealing with terrorists. So in many characteristics, this war is different. Yet it is a war, and not only this is a world war, because we are talking about something which thinks globally. And we have to name a cat, otherwise we continue not to connect the dots. We are dealing here with an ideology. And this is something which is a difference between somebody who kills somebody else because he, let's say, somebody kills his or her spouse. So definitely this is a murder, but there is no ideology behind it. It's he or she killed her or him because she or he wanted to get rid of this particular person. But when we are dealing with ideology, everybody is the victim. All of us are victims. But I have to proceed. People are afraid to talk about radical Islam or moderate Islam because it implies that there is radical Islam. And here I have to clarify something which is very important. There is no radical Islam, just like there is no moderate Islam. There is Islam. And Islam is a religion which has to say everything on everything. We are talking about a religion, or a culture, rather, which is based on, let's assume three important books. One is the Quran, one is the Hadith, means the oral tradition, and the third is the biography of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. These are the three basic scriptures or books which everything comes out from the Quran, from the Hadith, oral tradition, and the biography of Muhammad. These are the starting point of Islam. Everything else is a derivative. There is no radical Quran versus moderate Quran. There is only one Quran. There is no radical Hadith, oral tradition, versus moderate Hadith. There are no two books. Or biography of the Prophet Muhammad. There is no radical one, and there is no moderate one. There is only one, the Sirah, the biography. Every one of these sources contains everything. I'll give you a few examples. In the Quran, there is a verse which says, La ikraha fi din. I believe all of you understand. It is in Arabic. There is no way to understand the culture without its language. Can anybody understand the American culture without English? Okay, but this is another note. La ikraha fi din means no compulsion in religion. Means you cannot force anything connected to religion. You cannot force anybody to believe. You cannot force anybody to fast on Ramadan. You cannot enforce anything connected to religion. If the belief and the behavior according to set of rules, of the Islamic rules, doesn't come from within, you cannot force it. It will be only a facade if you can force it. So it really has to come from within. La ikraha fi din. No compulsion in religion. This is the verse in the Quran. Great. I could live with this. Everybody in the world could live with this. But if you turn the page, you find all those verses about the jihad, about the obligation to go and fight and kill the infidels and all these things, which you cannot erase. So what is the Quran, moderate or radical? All the above. Whatever you want, you can find in the Quran. The same thing in the Hadith. There is a quotation in the Hadith which says that he who kills one man is as if he killed all humankind. Great. Great idea. Don't kill even one person. But if you turn the page, you find another verse in the Hadith, or another quotation of the Hadith, which says that the end of time will never come until Muslims fight the Jews and kill them all, and to a degree that if a Jew is hiding behind a tree or a rock, the tree on the rock will shout, "Hey Muslim, come, a Jew is hiding behind me." So the hadith is what? Moderate or radical? Okay? All the above. And let's say the third source, the biography of Muhammad. There is an event there when he was sitting in Medina with his friends, and he saw a funeral of a Jew being brought to his last place. So he asked, "Who is the man who is the deceased one?" So they told him that's the name. So I know the man. He was an honest man. He was a good man. So the Muhammad stood in honor of this man until the funeral went to another street. Very good. But if you turn the page, you find another occasion when the Prophet Muhammad and Ali, his cousin and son-in-law, slaughtered 800 Jews in one day from the people of the Jews of Medina. So what was his attitude to Jews? Standing in funeral or slaughtering them? All the above. So what we have is sources which have everything in it, from zero violence to 100% violence. Okay? From zero tolerance to 100% tolerance. This is what these sources have. Now, imagine a Muslim who was born in Washington, D.C., the best place on earth. Everybody is nice, everybody is kind to each other, everybody holds the door, everybody is polite, everybody... Am I right or am I right? Everybody talks nicely, political correctness rules the game, and this is a most moderate place on earth. And this Muslim was born into this society, and he grows up here, and he learns in the school system of this magnificent place, and he absorbs the culture of this place. And when he comes to an age when he has to shape his Islamic views, of course he has to go 5 times to pray in the mosque, and nobody has anything against it. And if he fasts in Ramadan, it's very good. It's even good for the figure. And if he goes once in lifetime to Mecca for Hajj, it's excellent, just like Jews and Christians go to Jerusalem. Why not? But when he have to shape his views vis-a-vis the others, and his culture is moderate and accepting as it is in Washington, D.C., most probably he will pick from the Quran the La ikraha fi din, no compulsion in religion. From the Hadith, he will pick the idea of he who kills one man as if he killed the whole mankind. And from the precedent of the life of Muhammad, of the biography, he will take the occasion where he stood up in honor of the Jew. Okay, and he will take this moderate material, and he will tailor his Islamic garment with this material, and he will be moderate Muslim because these are the views and the ideas which he bases his ideology on.
let's assume somebody else who was born in Libya, where people fight each other non-stop, where the other is the enemy, where you kill and at the first stage before you start speaking with people. As we all know what happens there during the last 4 years. The culture is extremism, the culture is tribalism, the culture is violence to the peak. Most probably somebody who is born to that kind of society, when he comes to an age when he decides to shape his Islamic views, most probably he will take from the Quran the verses about the jihad, go kill the others because they fit his culture. From the hadith he will take the obligation to kill the Jews until the last, and from the biography of the Prophet Muhammad he will fall in love with the occasion where Muhammad slaughtered 800 Jews. Okay? Because these verses and ideas fit his culture. So what we have is actually not radical Islam versus moderate Islam. What we have is radical Muslims, people, either individuals or groups of people who group around one idea, like al-Qaeda, the Islamic State, Boko Haram, or all these organizations, which are groupings of people who share the same radical ideas which they took from the sources. While on the other side we see moderate Muslims, whether individuals or organizations, which are as peaceful as could be, like a group which I meet in Toronto, like almost every year when I'm there, Muslims Facing Tomorrow. You might be familiar with names like Rahil Raza and her husband Suhail Raza, Tariq Fatah, Tariq Hegi in Egypt, many people out there who are as peaceful as could be, all Muslims, devout Muslims, pray 5 times a day, some of them, but they will not even kill a mosquito on the wall. They will open the window for the mosquito to run away. Maybe he can have better life somewhere else. Okay? Because they don't want to see blood. They are as zero violence, their culture is. So, and they are devout Muslims because they base their ideas on the good ideas which they can find, which they can pick from the Islamic sources. So this is what we are talking about. We are not talking about radical Islam. Because there is no radical Islam, just like there is no moderate Islam. What we have is Islam, but what we have is radical people who take from the body of Islam, or the bodies of the texts of Islam, the ideas and the precedents which base their attitude or their culture, their attitude to others. What we face today is something which I'm not sure that people are aware of the size of what we are talking about. We'll return to this picture, but I want to show you something. This is the map from here. This line to the west is what was Syria. And I emphasize the word was because Syria does not exist anymore as a functioning state. And I think that if we want to talk about reality, we should put Syria more or less in the same envelope like the Soviet Union, like Yugoslavia, like Czechoslovakia, all states which fell apart according to, in the European case, according to ethnic lines. As you know, the Soviet Union became some 10 states, all ethnic states. Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Armenia, Estonia, Latvia, all these ethnic groups, which are more or less stable, normal, legitimate states, and nobody there shakes the boat. The only one is Ukraine, because Ukraine contains two groups, the Russians and the Ukrainians. This is why Ukraine continues to be a problem, a big problem. Imagine if Ukraine was divided to 2 states, we might not have the problem of Ukraine today. Yugoslavia
was a dictatorship under Tito, fell apart in a bloodbath, as we remember in the 90s. But now we have 6 flourishing states, Serbia for the Serbs and Croatia for the Croats, and so forth. And nobody steps on nobody's toes, and everybody is happy, and these are very flourishing countries. The same thing with Czechoslovakia, which in a civilized way, they divided the state between the Slovaks and the Czechs, and everyone now has his own state. Why pushing them together if they want to live separately? Okay, so these are 2 flourishing states as well. This is what happened to Syria. Syria is falling apart. Already in the northeast is the Kurdish district. Already this is an independent, I wouldn't say state because they didn't declare the statehood, but this is a district which functions just like the Kurds in northern Iraq, which are a very flourishing area. And I don't know if you know, but the best place today to invest is Erbil here, the capital of the Kurdish. I'm not a consultant, for investors, but because the Kurds live in peace with themselves. Why pushing them with others? The Alawis of Syria will have to run away if they will be willing to keep their heads connected to their shoulders. And the Druze in the south might have independence, the Bedouins in the east, more or less the parts of the state which were apart from each other under the Ottoman Empire, because the Ottomans understood the nature of the Middle East and how to deal with this. Iraq is this, and on the ruins of Iraq we have today the Islamic State, and the red part is the Islamic State, and it is a problem, a big problem, because it not only expands on the Middle East, it exports its message all over the world with the media, and I can show you how. The size of the Islamic State is like 4 times the size of Israel. Not that Israel is such a big country, but it's like New Jersey. So imagine 4 times of New Jersey. What do we get? Colorado? I don't know. But more or less, it's a big country today. And I highly doubt if you can get rid of it by bombing from the air. And okay, from the air you can kill somebody, you can target some operatives or some cars or some machine guns which they have, but this is not the way you deal with a state. And this is a state. They have ministries, they have officials, they have governance. They are a functioning state, almost totally. So this is not something which you can get rid of by some air raids or things like this. This needs boots on the ground, and unfortunately many boots on the ground with a heavy price of casualties. But otherwise it will come to here, because it exports itself, because it is so attractive to Muslims, to a degree that people just take the bag and they go to fight in these places. And here we are talking about, look, the Islamic nation is like, or the Islamic religion is like 1.5 billion people. It is enough if only 1 to 10,000 is radicalized to a degree that he or she will take the bag and run to Syria and Iraq to start operating there, that we have 1 to 10,000. If we take from 1.5 billion, we have 1.5 million. No, we have 150,000 people. 150,000 people. If we take only 1 out of 10,000 Muslims who fall in love with this idea, this is way too much. It needed 19 for the September 11. It needed 2 for the Charlie Hebdo. It needed 1 for the Kosher market. So you don't need many of them. And if you have 150,000 people only they can devastate the whole world if they are really organized and functioning in a way which can devastate the whole world. They are falling in love with the Islamic State mainly because of this. This is a clip which they aired, the Islamic State, in order to recruit more people, to show what they do. And don't be afraid, I will not show the problematic parts. Now look at how many, the production, how many cameras they used, high resolution cameras, how they play with the sound, with close up, zoom in, zoom out, slow motion, fast motion, and sound effects. Remember him? Jihadi John, the one with the knife, Manning, Sotloff, remember the names? This is the one who slaughtered them. Now these are the Islamic State fighters. This redhead is a European guy. Look at what they wear. They are not wearing, let's say, one t-shirt and one battle dress, or one jeans pants and one trainings, one sandals and one shoes. They have uniform. Means they are an army. And their uniform is the American uniform. They caught two bases of the Iraqi army, equipment bases for two divisions. Everything which they need, from tanks to cannons, from Hammers, these armored cars, to kitchen utensils, from uniform to gears. And they use the gear, the state-of-the-art gear of the American army. And everything is new, brand new American standards. Using your enemy's uniform and weapons in the Middle East is viewed as the victory, because now you can kill your enemy with his own weapon. There is no bigger victory. This is the message behind this picture. Look at how tall they are. The picture was taken from below in order to show how big they are. The hat is not an American. The other people with the dark dressing are Syrians who are captives in their hands.
لنا المرهفات العظام البواسل لا نصيب في حين التصادم فنحن الأسود قباح الضياغم نفل الحديثا بعزم شديد نفل الحديثا.
Is this one an Arab? No. He's like Malaysian or Indonesian.
بعزم شديد إذا الحرب
Look at the eyes.
جاءت بلحن الرصاص نزلنا على الكفر نبغي القصاص يساقون للموت ما من مناص ونسقي الهدى دماء الوريد ونسقي الهدى.
To Obama, the dog of Rome.
To Obama, the dog of Rome. What does it mean? Rome? I would assume Washington D.C. What mean Rome? What Rome has to do with this? Almost. The church. After they defeated Constantinople, which today is Istanbul, which was the center of the Eastern churches, one of the Muslim leaders said, now we got rid of the cats of Constantinople, means the Eastern churches. Now we are after the dogs of Rome, means the Western churches, the Catholic churches. So he employs the vocabulary of the 7th century. This is why so many people are attracted by this, because he goes to the origin of the Islam or the victories of Islam, definitely something attractive.
Today, we're slaughtering the soldiers of Bashar, and tomorrow, we'll be slaughtering your soldiers.
Doesn't need any comment. Tomorrow we'll slaughter our soldiers. Now this message is not only meant to Obama. It is meant, in my view, to the mothers of the soldiers, who will hear it on the internet, and they will immediately call the congressman or the senator to tell him, hey, not my son, if you vote to send our troops in the discussion of how to deal with this Islamic State, I ain't going to vote for you again. Okay? So what will be his decision when he has to raise his hand here? You can imagine. This is what they want to strike terror into the hearts of the people, so they are afraid of them and afraid to send boots on the ground.
And with Allah's permission, we will break this final and last crusade, and the Islamic State will soon, like your puppet David Cameron said, will begin to slaughter your people on your streets.
Oklahoma, beheading, okay, maybe, I don't know. Who is the master? Who is the slave? Okay, this is the message. Bismillah, in the name of Allah, I will not show further. You don't want to see what happens there. This is exactly the modus operandi of how they think, to strike terror into the hearts of the others. This is how they occupied the city of Mosul in one day, because all the Iraqi soldiers just ran away. Nobody wants to be close to their knives as these unfortunate Syrians.
How did they communicate that message to the people of Mosul that they were so frightened they just fled? By what means?
In the Middle East, the biggest or the fastest of communications is the rumors. As we call it, major rumor told me. Rumors are like a fire in a dry field. Once they have cell phones. They see it through the cell phone. They can see it very easily. Now, not only this, they uploaded this clip not on YouTube, because YouTube reduces the resolution in order to have the file smaller, not so heavy. They uploaded it to another website which does not reduce the resolution, in order that you see everything in details and good details. So this idea of striking terror into the hearts of people actually is already embedded in the ideology of the grandmother organization named the Muslim Brotherhood. The Muslim Brotherhood actually is the grandmother of all these organizations. Somebody here named Holder once said that the Muslim Brotherhood is a peaceful, non-religious, secular organization. This is the logo. This is the logo of the Muslim Brotherhood. And you know, logo is not something which somebody kicked a can of paint and the logo came out. Logo is something which you think about. The word logo is idea. This is the logo of the Muslim Brotherhood since 1928. First of all, the swords. leave no space to any doubt about their modus operandi. Somebody once told me, one sword is for the hugs and the other one is for the kisses. Okay, this could be interpretation of the swords. However, there could be different interpretations for the swords. The book above is the Quran. On the two thighs is Al-Ikhwan al-Muslimun, means the Muslim Brotherhood. And one word in the bottom. One word. It is in Arabic. The writing on the wall definitely is in Arabic. And it says, Wa'iddu. In Arabic it means, and prepare, as an imperative. Imperative to plural. And prepare. Prepare what? Dinner, breakfast. Prepare what? It says, you can't understand. So, it says nothing. But it says nothing to those who are not familiar with the sources, Islamic sources. There is the Quran, as they show above, and this word appears only once in the Quran. So, it relates to this word. No other way to explain it. And if you open the Quran, and you look in the concordance for the Quran, and you see that this word opens a verse which says, and prepare against them, the infidels, against them whatever you can from power and bound horses, in order to strike terror into the hearts of your enemies and the enemies of Allah. Means, what do they mean in this logo? To strike terror by showing the swords and the book into the hearts of the infidels. So this is, in a nutshell, the ideology or the logo of the Muslim Brotherhood. And everything else is history or interpretation. So the idea is drawn already by the Muslim Brotherhood already in 1928. And all these ideas, all these organizations which we are familiar with, Hamas and Boko Haram and al-Qaeda and the Islamic State and the Ansar Bait al-Maqdis in Sinai and many, many other organizations. In Syria, there are hundreds of them today. All of them are the daughters and the granddaughters organizations which came out from the hothouse of the ideas of the Muslim Brotherhood. And this is what these ideas. Okay, this is the Sunni Islam. The Shia Islam has its own counterparts on the other side, like Hezbollah, and some militias in Iraq and in Iran and many others. So this is actually what we are facing now. Groups of people who are radicalized by the ideas or the ideology which was invented by the Muslim Brotherhood in the beginning of the 20th century, using verses and ideas which are already embedded in the most basic sources of Islam, the Quran, the Hadith, and the precedent of Prophet Muhammad, who slaughtered already 800 Jews in Medina, and this was not the only place and only time. So this is what we are facing today. Radical Muslims who are grouped in organizations which are violent, either 100% or 99% or 98%, you choose what you like, and are intending to strike terror into the hearts of all the others in order to subjugate them. So the goal will be that they will succeed to subjugate the whole world as they talk about Islam. They divide the world to two kinds of states or two kinds of countries, Dar al-Islam and Dar al-Harb, the place of Islam which Islam already controls, and Dar al-Harb means the house of war, where a war should be waged in order to subjugate the people to Islam. And here we are, and this is the bottom line. We are in a fight, in a war, definitely what Ephraim Halevi said 15 years ago. And now only thing we have to is to connect the dots, to add the ideas, now we have the skeleton of the events, and ideas are the flesh and the skin. And now we have to, this is what we build. Anthropologists
sometimes find a part of a finger and they draw a whole human being based on one finger which they find in excavations. So definitely, we don't need anthropologists for this. All we have to do is to read the writing on the wall. And the writing, of course, it might be in Arabic, but those who do not read the writing actually are with their heads into the sand. I think I'll stop here. Look, Sisi, with all due respect, and I highly respect this man, this speech which he heard about the necessity to reform Islam and to reshape the ideas of radical people is no different from many speeches which Mubarak delivered, which Sadat before him, Gamal Abdel Nasser before him, Naguib before him, all these presidents of Egypt since 1952. The same thing Hafez Assad said in his speeches. I don't remember if Bashar Assad had the opportunity to say it, but I wouldn't overrule this idea. Every ruler who sees himself as the target of those radical Muslims claims that they have to reform their ideas. Now, do you think that it really affects them? That they, Sisi says, oh wow, let's change. They know exactly what pushes him to say it, and the last people on earth to change anything will be there. They, the Western media love Sisi because he says that we have to reform Islam. Is he legitimate in the eyes of those who kicked out from the presidency a year and a half ago? Those Muslim Brotherhood? They are waiting behind the door to do what's necessary in order to return to the legitimate presidency which they had with Morsi. What do you think? That once he was elected to be a president, all of a sudden all of the Egyptians, Sisi is good, we love him, and we don't love anymore the Muslim. This is not the situation. Sure. The story, just in a nutshell, the Muslim Brotherhood was established in the 20s because of the big debate in Egypt about the future of Egypt after the British eventually go out from it. It was under British occupation. There were some trends, some pharaonic trends which thought that we Egyptians are not really Muslims, we are not really Arabs, we are the descendants of the pharaohs from 6,000 years ago. Some claim that we are like Salama Musa, a Coptic god. We are a European nation. We are not even Islamic. Islam was enforced on us by the Bedouins who came in the 7th century. So all kinds of these ideas which came to Egypt and flourished in the 20s in salons where they were discussing the Egyptian future. So some Muslims who felt that they are under assault and under attack, not to mention phenomena of what already started then of women's lib, not as it is today, but the beginning. Women started in the 20s to go around in Egypt without hair veil. And in 23, when it happened the first time, it was viewed when a first woman, Safia Zarlul, went in the street without head cover. It's just like a woman goes here in DC without a shirt and without a bra as well. This is how it was viewed in Egypt. So, those Islamists started to be very, they started to worry about what will be our future with Islam. So the Muslim Brotherhood is a reaction of all these ideas which came to Egypt under the permission of the British occupation. So the three pillars, I would say, of the Muslim Brotherhood is to get rid of the foreign occupation, to get rid of the culture of the foreign occupation, especially when it comes to gender issues, and the third one is to establish the Sharia as the rule of the state. Why do we need European laws? What, are we Europeans? We have our own sources of how to behave. This is, in a nutshell, the three pillars of the Muslim Brotherhood, and everything else is a history and commentary. Well, there are people who think that Iran will do the job. After all, Iran is here. This is Iran. I'm sorry, my map is in Arabic, but Iran is here after the yellow part. So Iran could send troops at like less than 100 kilometers. They are like from here to what? To Baltimore? No, even less. So they can do the job. But the question is if they will do, and in my view, they will be the last on earth. Because when they see the West, the infidel West, shivers from fear, they are so happy. You have no idea. So let the West deal with this. They might send some weapons, some ammunition to the Kurds to stand in front of this, only in order to pour more oil on this problem. I don't see that, and if the world will be willing to see the Iranians get rid of the Islamic State, the price will be that they will have the license to go all the way to an atomic bomb. This will be the price. So instead of living with the Sunni terror of knives and bombs, of regular bombs, we'll have a Shiite terror supported with an atom bomb. So this will be much bigger of a problem. Yes, sir. Look, the problem is not only a military problem of this red stain on the map. The problem is war on ideas, because their ideas are exported. The radicalism which pushed the people to shoot in the Charlie Hebdo, they are not part of the Islamic State, they are part of al-Qaeda. And al-Qaeda now is competing with the Islamic State, who will have the lead of the old one, the al-Qaeda, which was pushed more or less to the margin recently, or the Islamic State, which today are not the same organization. They compete and they actually fight each other by this competition on our backs, in our newspapers and groceries. This is how they fight, who will be a better jihadist. So it's not only boots on the ground when it comes to an army like the Islamic State. It is also a war on ideas. And if you don't name a cat, you just don't know that there is such a problem. You have to deal with the ideas which push them, because those ideas are exported to Australia as well, as we saw already in the Lind restaurant there in Sydney. So this is something which, like a mercury, which falls on the ground and becomes many other things. It's not only the red spot on the map. It starts there. And people have to see all over the world what a decisive answer was given by the Western civilization against this. Otherwise, it will come to this country as well. By the media, and the Atlantic is not wide enough to protect this country. And I can show you stuff which I and another colleague collected in mosques in this country. Look at this. This is a book. This is the front cover, this is the back cover. 40 hadith on jihad, in English. In English. Which was found in some mosques in this country. I published an article, you can read it online. Sharia and Violence in American Mosques was published 3 years ago by the Middle East Quarterly. You can read it for free. For the jihad, okay, jihad against whom? Against the Martians who came to Earth? Or jihad against the little men who came from the moon? Okay?
Is that MB or is that ISIS? Or
no, this is a general thing which was disseminated here. They use each other's material. These are the chapters. I don't have time to read all the chapters, but just look at 17, okay? Means part of the jihad is that you make face as if you are a normal man,
who came to somewhere in order to become a full citizen and to contribute to the okay? You have to for a good war you need three things: intelligence, and okay. Remember Hilton with the location? The same thing. So this is one booklet which we found in this survey. There is another good book, which is this. And now we have to fight this thing. How? If you cannot even question them about their religion. If the police or FBI are not allowed even to talk about their ideological motivations. So this is how terrorist attacks become workplace violence. Again, every Muslim has his own reality, because everyone is basing his ideas on the Quran, Hadith, Sirah, on other sources. Some would say that those hijacked Islam. But somebody who said about the other, who hijacked Islam, it actually legitimizes that the other will say about him that he hijacked Islam. Okay? Because everybody is basing on Islam. Look, Judaism also. We have, in Judaism, we have the Reform Judaism, which is the most modern liberal interpretation of the sources, while you have the Haredi Judaism, which is the most traditional interpretation. They are so remote from that culturally, but they base themselves on the same sources, the same Torah, the same Bible, the same Mishnah, the same Talmud. Okay? The same mechanism of how to take the sources and to interpret them according to your culture, because the culture is the first thing. Radical people are, in their culture, radical, whether they are Jewish, Muslim, Christians, or infidels. They will kill everybody because they are radical people. Okay? When you have to shoot. But when moderate people are moderate, regardless of the religion. Okay? This is the culture. Yes. Now, what you have is radical people, or some very radical people, who live in societies which violence is the name of the game, and they take from the Islamic sources something which supports their approach to other people. And unfortunately, there is enough material in the Islamic sources which which gives the legitimacy, the seal of approval to such behaviors, like the behaviors of the Prophet Muhammad from the 7th century. Okay, this is what there is. It's not that is, look at the Jewish source, look at the Bible. Also the Bible. We have some, occurrences where the Israelites occupied the land of Canaan, the land of Israel. Definitely there was a war. In a war, there are people who were killed in the war. It's by definition. Okay? So, I'm talking about those days. So but there is no Jew today who bases his ideas and behavior on what happened in Eretz Israel, in the land of Israel, 35 centuries ago. In Islam, there are people who are in the Islamic world, there are enough people, and one is enough, who are radical because of their culture, because of the terrain which they lived and the background which they live in, and they take the Islamic sources in order to fortify their approaches to others, because now it's not only what they think, it's what Allah thinks as well. So this is what happens. This is the mechanism. Yes?
Hello, my name is Ben. If the Muslim Brotherhood is the trunk, the ideological trunk.
The modern.
The modern.
Modern. For modern.
The model, yes, the model for
The modern.
the modern.
They started this movement of modern organizations. Radical organizations were before, but they are the Archimedes point of modern times, which started this phenomenon of radical organizations, modern radical organizations.
Okay.
Okay, the role of the Saudi Arabia is not only the state itself, but the Wahhabism, which is the basis of the religious basis of their kingdom, which was founded in the 18th century. The Wahhabism is the most extreme interpretation of the Sharia, of how to behave in any case which includes the Sharia law. Their behavior also was rather problematic. By the way, the name Ikhwan, the Muslim Brotherhood, was before it was in Egypt, it was in Saudi Arabia. Another organization, another kind of organization of Bedouins who just assaulted on places and burned them with the tents in order to convince them to join the Saudi Union of the tribes, which later became the kingdom. This is why, by the way, King Saud, the father of the kings today, who established the modern kingdom, he was very angry at the Egyptians who took the same name, Al-Ikhwan al-Muslimun, the Muslim Brotherhood, from his gangs to Egypt. But this is another, who is the brand name. They took the brand. Copyright, they violated his copyright on the name. So the Saudis definitely have influence, especially by money, which they funneled into Europe and to this country, and always anonymously, in order to build mosques, madrasas, libraries, and to promote the cause of Islam, in their view, which is rather radical. Yet they did it under the surface, nobody really saw them, and as long as people were addicted to their oil, people didn't say much. The Qataris are, let's say, more Muslim Brotherhood oriented. The Saudis hate the Muslim Brotherhood, while the Qataris are in the same bed with the Muslim Brotherhood, especially because of Yusuf Qaradawi, the leader of the Muslim Brotherhood, who converted the Emir of Qatar from anti-Muslim Brotherhood to be with the Muslim Brotherhood. And Qatar is the engine, is the money behind the Muslim Brotherhood, behind Hamas, and behind Martin Indyk. The New York Times published that one day he got some almost $15 million. 18? 14, I think it's 14.8. Almost $15 million, which actually educated Martin Indyk to speak in favor of Hamas, especially the summer. And this is how Qatar buys people. And I only quote from the New York Times. I never saw any check, and that's what I say. I never saw any money comes from Qatar to any place here. All I read is in the newspapers here. Yes. First of all, you have to define the threat. You have to call a cat a cat. You cannot start covering it with all kinds of nice words which are taken from the vocabulary of political correctness. Because political correctness will kill America after it killed already Europe. And I'm talking bluntly as it is. Europe today is not what it was 30 years ago. The European human landscape is changing rapidly and dramatically. And those who live in Europe know it before others. And the Atlantic is not wide enough to keep it from coming here. And what I see today in phenomena of Islamism, which I will not elaborate now because of lack of time, we'll start with this. And this is what I call Islamism. Because if they start preparing themselves to interrogations, means they have something to hide. Okay? Somebody who published this book, I have the whole book here, in order to help his companions from revealing what they all want to hide. Okay? So you have to know that there is a problem here. Now, I will not show it here, but there is a memorandum. Just Google memorandum, Muslim Brotherhood, just look, you'll find it in the internet. What found here in, I think in 1991, 24 years ago, already the whole plan how to export the Islamism to this country. Just read it. It's in English, translated to English. Originally it is in Arabic. It's a good translation. How the Arabic is better. But so this, first of all, you have to define the problem. To call the problem a problem, you cannot anymore hide it, because it will blow up in the faces of everybody. And this is the beginning, the first step. Once you define the problem, you can do something with this. But if you have the wrong analysis and the wrong definition of the problem, how can you deal with it? Okay, no, he took part in extermination of Jews in Hungary, big time. Okay, but it's not politically correct to talk about the godfather of the Palestinian national movement as one who took part in extermination of 500,000 Jews. It's not nice. Look, Arafat took part in assassination of 2 American diplomats and 1 Belgian, I think, who were kidnapped in Sudan in 1973. The NSA intercepted the conversation and he orders the people who kidnapped those diplomats to kill them. So America had all the reasons to put this man in the place which he deserves. But when you need a thief, you take him out of the rope. When you need a thief, you take him even off the rope. And I'm talking about some Western, which the mechanism which is employed by Islam is abrogation. Means once it was this, then came a new idea and replaced it. So everything which somebody doesn't like, he takes another idea and says it was given later to the Prophet Muhammad and it replaced the first one. This is the mechanism how they